in the 2020 election, who won between Donald Trump and Joe Biden?
Well, Joe Biden was certified by joint session of Congress, and so as a matter of law, he was the elected president.
How about as a matter of fact? Who won that election?
He was. We implement the 12th Amendment, and under that, he was elected.
As a matter of fact, who won that election? Just as a simple matter of fact. Somebody asked you out on the street, who won the election in 2020? What would your answer be? Who won? And who lost?
It's a fact that the Electoral College vote was more for Joe Biden.
You seem to have real difficulty with that question. In 2020, why is it difficult for you to answer a simple factual question about who won presidential elections? When did it become so difficult to answer such a simple question?
Who won the 2020 presidential election? It sounds like one of the simplest questions imaginable. But during a Senate confirmation hearing, nominees repeatedly refused to give a direct answer, and the exchange quickly turned into a tense showdown.
Mr. Cook, in 2008, Barack Obama ran against John McCain. Who won that election?
I believe President Obama was sworn into office, so I'm certain he won, Senator.
And John McCain lost that election?
Yes, Senator.
4 years later, Barack Obama ran against Mitt Romney. Who won that election?
President Obama was sworn into office, so I'm certain he was elected as a matter of law, Senator.
And did Romney lose the election?
That's the natural, logical converse of that, yes.
In 2016, Donald Trump ran against Hillary Clinton. Who won that election?
He was sworn into office, so as a matter of law, he was elected to that office, Senator.
So Donald Trump won that election?
That would be the natural assumption, yes, Senator.
Well, isn't it really an assumption you have to make? Did Donald Trump defeat Hillary Clinton?
In the Electoral College, he did, yes, Senator.
Do you have some uncertainty about whether he won that election?
No, I'm trying to be precise about what I'm saying. Yes, he won in the Electoral College because...
And Joe Biden in the 2020 election, who won between Donald Trump and Joe Biden?
Well, Joe Biden was certified by joint session of Congress, and so as a matter of law, he was the elected president.
How about as a matter of fact? Who won that election?
He was. We implement the 12th Amendment, and under that, he was elected.
As a matter of fact, who won that election? Just as a simple matter of fact. Somebody asked you out on the street, who won the election in 2020? What would your answer be? Who won? And who lost?
I would say as a matter of law, he was elected, Senator.
And as a matter of fact?
That
you're somehow separating the law and facts. As a matter of actual fact, who won the election in 2020?
It's a fact that the Electoral College vote was more for Joe Biden.
You seem to have real difficulty with that question. In 2024, Donald Trump ran against Kamala Harris. Who won that election?
President Trump had more Electoral College votes, and so the joint session of Congress certified him as the winner.
So Donald Trump won that election?
As a matter of law, he was elected, Senator.
And Kamala Harris lost that election?
That was the converse, yes, Senator.
And Mr. Candeub, in 2016, when Donald Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, who won that election?
Donald Trump was certified as winner by the United States Congress.
Did he in fact win?
He was certified as winner.
Did he in fact win?
He was certified as winner.
Do you have some doubt about whether he won?
Well, under our constitutional structure, it is the states that have...
No, my question is, do you have some doubt about the outcome?
I have no doubt that the U.S. Congress certified Donald Trump as winner.
No, I don't ask you that question. Do you have any doubt that Donald Trump won the election?
I have no doubt that under our constitutional structure...
well, that's really not my question. In 2020, who won the election?
The United States Congress certified...
Why is it difficult for you to answer a simple factual question about who won presidential elections? When did it become so difficult to answer such a simple question? And how can we expect you to rely on the facts when you're evaluating a case Mr. Cook, when you're evaluating a merger, Mr. Candeub,
Schiff then shifted from election questions to whether a nominee's willingness to state basic facts could affect confidence in future legal decisions. Since this hearing, the Senate Judiciary Committee has continued reviewing the nominees' records and testimony before deciding whether to advance their nominations to the full Senate for confirmation votes.
how can we expect you to rely on the facts when you have such difficulty stating the obvious? Mr. Candeub, when you met with my staff yesterday, you said you stood by your previous comments, including op-eds you wrote for white nationalist websites like Vidare. In one of those, in an article titled "Immigration and Three Twitchy Jewish Nerves," you stated, quote, "Muslim immigrants and their children seem prone not only to terrorism but to cultural separatism." Do you stand by that statement?
Senator, I wrote that article in defense of Donald Trump's travel ban, which I thought was essential.
That's not my question. My question is, you told my staff you stood by your previous statements. Do you stand by that one?
I stand by those articles. They were defenses against terrorism.
So you stand by that statement. So what do you mean that Muslim immigrants and their children are prone to terrorism?
I wrote those articles.
I'm not asking you. You've already said you stand by that statement. So what do you mean by that?
I'm trying to explain. I wrote those articles in defense of Donald Trump's travel ban, which is to protect us against terrorism. And I thought that terrorism continues to be a tremendous threat to all Americans.
And you think that Muslim immigrants and their children are somehow prone to terrorism?
I wrote in support of the travel ban.
I'm aware of why you wrote the article. My question is, and I would like an answer, do you stand by your statement that Muslim immigrants and their children seem prone to terrorism?
I stand by the article I wrote. The travel ban was being...
Well, then that's all I need to know.
Since this August 5th, 2026 Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, the nominations of Gregory Carl Cook, D. Adam Candeub, John Peter Cronin, and Jason Manion have continued moving through the Senate confirmation process. Following the hearing, all 4 nominations remain before the Senate Judiciary Committee for additional consideration, with senators submitting written questions for the nominees before any committee vote. As of the latest Senate records, Gregory Carl Cook's nomination to the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Alabama, D. Adam Candeub's nomination to serve as Assistant Attorney General, and the nominations of John Peter Cronin and Jason Manion to the U.S. Sentencing Commission have not yet received final Senate confirmation and remain pending in the confirmation process. The hearing also generated continued public discussion because of 2 separate issues raised by Senator Adam Schiff. The first involved repeated questions asking the nominees to plainly acknowledge the certified winners of the 2016, 2020, and 2024 presidential elections. The second concerned Adam Candeub's previously published writings defending the Trump administration's travel ban, including articles that Schiff argued contained inflammatory statements about Muslim immigrants. Civil rights organizations, legal commentators, and several senators continued debating whether Judicial and Senior Justice Department nominees should demonstrate an unequivocal commitment to accepted constitutional facts and whether prior public writings should influence confirmation decisions. While supporters argued the nominees were appropriately emphasizing constitutional procedures and legal precision, critics contended that their reluctance to give direct factual answers raised concerns about judgment and impartiality in positions requiring independent legal decision-making. The hearing itself centered on a broader question than any single nomination, whether senior Judicial and Justice Department officials should be willing to give clear, straightforward answers about well-established public facts. Senator Adam Schiff repeatedly asked Gregory Carl Cook to identify the winners of recent presidential elections. Rather than simply naming the winning candidates, Cook consistently framed his answers in constitutional terms, emphasizing certification by the Electoral College and Congress. Schiff argued that those legal formulations unnecessarily avoided answering what he viewed as simple historical facts. A similar exchange followed with Adam Candeub. Schiff again pressed the nominee to state directly who won the 2016 and 2020 presidential elections. Candeub repeatedly referred to the constitutional certification process instead of giving the concise factual answers Schiff requested. That distinction became the central focus of the exchange. Schiff argued that public confidence in judges and senior Justice Department officials depends on their willingness to acknowledge objective facts without qualification, while the nominees appeared determined to answer through a legal rather than political framework. The hearing then shifted to Candeub's earlier writings defending the Trump administration's travel ban. Schiff quoted language from one of Candeub's published articles, suggesting that Muslim immigrants and their children were prone to terrorism, and repeatedly asked whether he continued to stand by that statement. Candeub responded that he stood by the articles as written, and explained that they were intended as a defense of the travel ban during a period of heightened concern about international terrorism. He did not directly withdraw or repudiate the quoted language, leading Schiff to conclude that the record spoke for itself. That exchange reflected a recurring issue during judicial confirmation hearings: the extent to which nominees' past writings, speeches, or public commentary should influence assessments of their fitness for office. Supporters often argue that nominees deserve to explain the context in which earlier opinions were written, while opponents maintain that those writings provide insight into how nominees may exercise legal authority if confirmed. The hearing demonstrated how prior public statements can become a significant part of evaluating candidates for positions that require impartial application of the law. Another important theme was the distinction between legal process and factual reality. Throughout the questioning, the nominees consistently relied on constitutional procedures, such as electoral college votes and congressional certification, to describe presidential elections. Schiff argued that those legal mechanisms establish the official outcome, but do not prevent nominees from also acknowledging the straightforward historical fact of who won each election. The disagreement, therefore, was not about the constitutional process itself, but about whether the nominees were unnecessarily avoiding direct answers to uncomplicated factual questions. The hearing also underscored the Senate Judiciary Committee's constitutional role in evaluating not only legal qualifications, but also judgment, credibility, and public confidence. Senators frequently use confirmation hearings to test how nominees respond under pressure, explain controversial past statements, and demonstrate their commitment to impartial decision-making. Those exchanges often become as important as a nominee's resume because they offer insight into how future judges and senior Justice Department officials may approach difficult legal and constitutional issues. Looking back, this hearing became less about partisan disagreement over election results and more about broader questions of candor, constitutional responsibility, and public trust. Whether evaluating judicial nominees or senior executive branch officials, senators sought assurances that individuals entrusted with significant legal authority would apply the law fairly while remaining willing to acknowledge established facts. Those questions remain central to the confirmation process and continue shaping debate over the standards expected of nominees to some of the nation's most influential legal positions.